Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, assalamu alaikum. Good evening, good night, or good morning to all of you. And we are so pleased to have so many people in this meeting from all over the world in different time zones. I am Shakira Mohammed from Trinidad and Tobago, a teacher for the past 15 years. And this is our 193rd edition of our Zoom public meeting. We wish to sincerely thank all of you who have contributed in whatever way to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora global project. So for the past 192 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday. And in those 4 years, we have featured 812 presenters from all parts of the world speaking on 192 topics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. And in order to continue this weekly program and to make it bigger and better, we are asking for suggestions as well as volunteers and donations, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for details. I will now introduce our moderator for this evening or tonight, who is Shalama Mohammed, the co-director of the Zoom platform, who is a business teacher and researcher from Trinidad and Tobago. She obtained her master's degree in business psychology from Franklin University in the USA. Shalama, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shakir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I want to say thank you so much for choosing to be here with us. So this public meeting will take the form of conversations with simultaneous questions and comments from you, members of the audience, via the Zoom chat button. The entire program shall run for about 2 hours. We are recording live, and this recording would be uploaded later on YouTube permanently for posterity. We are also live streaming on the YouTube channel of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. So welcome to all of you all on YouTube at this time. To avoid intrusions from trolls, Ravin Ram Singh, our IT manager, has muted everyone. Speakers, I want to please remind you, kindly avoid unmuting anyone, admitting anyone, and allowing anyone to share your screen. Thanks so much for your cooperation. So this is part 17 of our live conversations with Indian elders in the diaspora, and we are talking about post-indentureship days. Why are we doing this? Interviewing and recording conversations with our elders holds immense significance as it allows for the preservation of their life stories, experiences, and wisdom. These conversations serve as valuable historical and cultural records, offering insights into the past and contributing to a collective understanding of societal changes. These conversations also foster intergenerational communication, facilitate the transfer of knowledge, and provide a platform for the elderly to share their unique perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, our first elder is Mr. Hari Prasad Badri Maharaj of South Africa. He is 98 years old. He's a former educator and principal in KwaZulu-Natal, who served as the secretary of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha of South Africa for 45 years. Because of the time zone differences, Dr. Kogilam Archery was kind enough to do a pre-recorded interview with him. She is a research associate at the University of South Africa and series editor for a journal published by the Oral History Association. He is here with us, and if you have questions, we will indeed take them in the chat and possibly ask after. But Ravin, can we please have that pre-recording now?
Namaste, madam.
How are you?
Everything is fine, thanks.
Okay, can you tell me, Mr. Maharaj, when were you born?
Now, according to my date records, I was born on the 2nd of August 1925. But according to later on, I found out that I was born 6 months earlier.
Okay, so you were still born in 1925?
It was listed as 25, yeah.
Okay. Where were you born, Mr. Maharaj?
I was born in Ottawa.
In Ottawa.
Now called Kisun Road.
Okay. And how many children did your mom have?
Actually, four boys and 5 girls.
Who was the eldest?
Elder was Parmeshwar. He was well known in the great area because he used to work for Trinidad Brothers in Durban.
What type of work did he do for
He
Trinidad?
was a salesman for Tripoli, Indian way.
Okay, what type of Indian way was he a salesperson for?
Mostly women,
Yeah.
sarees, blouses, skirts, jewelry, light jewelry.
Oh, okay. Did he enjoy his work, your brother?
Yes, I think he did.
Okay. Did he tell you any stories about the work that he did?
No, but he knew that the merchants who used to, invade the Indian section of the business industry.
And how was the business industry at that time?
Industry was the non-white section was in the hands of the Gujarati family and the Muslim group.
Okay. So the Gujarati families and the Muslim families, did they come as part of the indentured people to South Africa?
Yes, some of them did.
Okay. Okay.
But the pioneers were, I think, the Muslims.
Okay. Now your grandparents, right? How did they come to South Africa? Who was the first person in your family to come to South Africa?
The first person was my grandmother, father's mother, who came here with 2 girls who were small children then.
Okay, so that's your mother's father.
No, my father's.
Your grandmother came with 2 children. One was her daughter and one was the son. And the son was your father.
Yeah,
Am I right?
right.
Right. So can you tell me a little bit about your grandmother, about your Aji? What do you remember about her?
I only remember her during the latter part of our lives. The past history we only come to know, or we came to know, from what we heard from our elders in the family, like my brothers and sisters.
So what did your granny do in South Africa? What type, did she work out of the house? Was she just in the house? What did your granny do?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
All beyond my time.
Okay. And now your dad. Can you tell me a little bit about your dad?
He grew up not far from the barracks, what we call Ottawa estate. I don't actually know where he worked, but sometime or other that worked in the coal mines, or where they have moved thereafter, I don't know.
Okay. So if he worked in the coal mines, what type of work you think he did in the coal mines?
That's difficult to say so.
And you know anything about your mom's family? Like her parents?
Here's a new father, brothers, and 3 sisters.
Can you tell me anything about your nana?
Oh, you're a tough old man. A very tough old man. And it appears in earlier times he used to go on horseback, which was regarded a person of status.
Did he own horses?
I don't know if he owned them, but he used to go around on horseback.
And your nani? What do you remember about your nani?
I don't remember that at all.
Okay. And Mr. Maraj, can you tell me what was your father's name?
Well, it's called Badri Maharaj. In some documents you will find Badri, in some Badree.
Okay. So why do you think there was two spellings to his name?
You see, in those days, don't forget, these people were employed by whites. And these whites didn't have any particular standard way of spelling. So they came with different things in our lettering also. So we have that difference.
Okay. And what was your mom's name? Your mother's name?
Her name was Janaki. Janake.
Okay, okay. And tell me, where did your father work?
He worked, say, partly mentioned. I don't know if he was permanently employed by the coal mines.
And did your mom work out of the house, or was she only in the house?
She was a housewife.
A housewife. What type of foods did your mom prepare for the children?
Well, mostly rice, dal, and vegetable curry.
Did she make roti?
She used to make roti, yes.
Did you learn how to make roti?
Well, my sister learned.
Why did you not learn to make roti?
Well, boys were kept away from food and kitchen.
Oh, why was that, Mr. Miraj?
I don't know. It could be due to tradition or so. They said women and girls, they must stick to the kitchen
Okay.
cooking.
And tell me, Mr. Miraj, did you help your father in the house, around the house? Did your father do any work around the house?
He did not do any particular fixed job. He was a pandit,
Okay.
a freelance pandit, and he used to go around.
Okay.
When I came to realize about the world, I found that he was already owner of a piece of land on which he grew sugarcane and supplied to the mill at Mount Etsko.
Okay, so your father was a pandit. How did he learn to become a pandit?
From his teacher, his guru, used to guide him to do his learning of Hinduism and Hindu real rituals that we normally attach to.
So your father could speak Hindi, he could write Hindi, he could read Hindi?
Oh yes, he was a pandit,
Yes.
professional pandit.
Okay.
And I don't know where he learned, but he was able to sign his signature and address and other details.
Did you learn to read and write Hindi, Mr. Miraj?
Yes. My father was a hard master. He and I and my brother were to succumb to his teachings.
Okay. And you are one of 9 children. Your sisters and your brothers, did they also all learn Hindi? To read and write?
Few elder ones learned a wee bit and thereafter forgot what they have learned.
Okay. Tell me now, Mr. Miraj, your father, did he, oh, you said he owned property, owned the land, where he did the sugarcane farming. Am I right?
No. Actually, he was a tenant along the river, what we used to call Ottawa River. He used to live on somebody's land. Where he worked, I don't know. I only know when I came to about 4 or 5.
Okay. Then you knew he was into the sugarcane farming.
Sugarcane farming.
Oh, lovely. So now, Mr. Miraj, we can talk a little bit about you. So which primary school did you go to?
We were An old building, Verlam Primary School, on the hill, what we now call Verlam Heights.
Okay.
I think it's called Verlam.
Yes, there is a township called Veerlam Heights. So, do you remember your friends from primary school?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Oh, tell
The
us about them.
teachers, the principal is Chuno,
Yeah.
Chuno teacher, a principal old man with glasses. Yes, he was the guru of Verlam.
Mr. Chuno.
You see, yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me anything more about your primary school days? What was the punishment like when you were in school?
Oh, yes. 6.
Okay. So, did you get 6?
We really feared him.
Okay. And tell me, did the school provide lunch at the time, sandwiches for those children who couldn't afford it?
Nothing. Well, those days, we had to carry our own lunch.
Okay.
People from Redcliffe, children from Redcliffe used to come with, and Grangetown used to come with their lunches in, what do you call, billy cans.
Billy cans.
Little cans with a lid on top, with a wire handle. And children used to bring rice and curry or porridge or handmade bread.
Okay. What was your favorite curry when you were a little child?
Mostly potatoes.
Potatoes.
Everything contained potato.
Okay. And how did you go to school?
From Ottawa, we used to walk 3 miles.
3 miles. Did you walk alone or did you walk with other friends?
Well, my brothers were there. Other children, the Govindu family, who now live along the main road.
Okay.
And children from Sugar Estate,
Yes.
Rima Samchinia, Anamale, Permals,
Okay.
all of them used to walk together. We were all like one big family,
Okay.
helping one another.
Oh, lovely. And then you went on to high school. Did you go on to high school, Mr. Maraj?
Yeah, I went to Sastri.
Yeah. So were you one of the first lot of students at Sastri College?
Not first.
Okay.
They were there long before I could reach it.
Okay. When you were in high school, what was your favorite subject in school?
There were no favorite, but somehow or other, I used to be able to grasp the Latin.
Oh, can you say something in Latin?
No, you have forgotten.
Okay. So, you were born in 1925, right? 1939 to 1945 was the World War. Do you recall anything about the World War? How did it affect us here in South Africa? How were you affected?
We were given that fear in us at the beginning of the war. At home, we should discuss the oncoming war. We expected a war, but in the intense nature of the war was something different, because we know nothing about warfare mechanism or the weaponry used to annihilate civilizations.
So were there any rations during the war in South Africa? Were there any rations, food rations?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We were rationed.
So what type of food could you eat at that time?
Well, for example, the food type of food that we had to endure changed during the war years. I know we used to suffer with hard, crusty bread for when we were at high school.
Yes.
Carry those crusty bread.
Okay. Mr. Maraj, I want to move on now to, you became a school teacher?
Yes.
What subjects did you teach?
Well, I used to teach mostly 6 and below,
Okay.
except the two bottom ones, which were the infant class.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us that, all over the world Indians can listen to what you have to say? Well, how did you come to live to this grand age of 97? What is the secret of your long
What
life?
do you call the grand age? Yeah. It was a real struggle. Like we at home, we used to get up in the morning, have our meals prepared for us for our school work, and carry our lunch to school. We had to walk right from what we say, Pelham Heights to Ottawa.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
बुद्ध हीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो भवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार. It means we got to accept the fact that we are all empty. We are praying towards you. You are pleading to Hanuman to give you bal, strength.
So there we have it, the interview with Mr. Badri Maharaj. And Dr. Kogi, I have to thank you so much for doing that. Mr. Maharaj, are you able to unmute your mic? Please.
There we go. There we go,
Are you
Aja.
hearing me?
You hear
Can you hear her,
Wonderful.
Aja?
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very, very much for sharing your life experience with us. We really appreciate it. There are two questions in the chat that Jay Nair has asked. Jay, do you want to unmute and try to ask those questions very quickly?
I'm
Okay, I'm not-
unmuted.
They want to ask you two
Raj,
questions.
do you
They're asking you a question, Aja.
Anita,
Yes.
any idea of the Cato Manor riots?
Oh,
You
the
remember?
Karai.
The Cato Manor riots,
Yes,
Aja.
I remember I was in Grey Street and West Street when the hordes were damaging the plate glasses of the shops on the way.
Wow.
It was a disastrous moment for me to see so much of destruction going on in the country under this.
I have those slight
That was-
memories of it. Yeah. I
That
was
was a
5 years old then.
Okay,
And,
so Jay, what does
the
the
government-
Cato Manor riots have to do with South African Indians?
Because the attack was between the Africans and the Indian community.
Oh,
And
I
it
see.
was sort of sponsored by the white group. And this was a labor riot, but the anger went on to the Indian community in
Community at the
different
time.
parts of Durban.
punishment.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
the-
Thank you very much.
Now, which
Um,
school did you go to? Was it a government-aided school?
Was your school government aided, Aja?
Yeah.
Perhaps you wouldn't know.
School, was it government aided school you went to?
Whoever did it,
Did the government provide aid in the schools that you went to?
well, only partially.
Community.
So it was only a partial aid.
The teachers were paid by the community, and the churches played an important part in the education of English education amongst the Indians. No doubt, many Indians developed, made progress with the help of the English language spread on by the churches of the country. Not all, but most of them You are very, very helpful.
Okay, Mr. Maharaj, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm seeing many comments in the chat from your grandchildren. And let me just echo Varsha. It really is an absolute honor for us to have you on the program. I want to thank you very, very much. I know it's
That's
very
from
late in South
Thank
Africa.
you.
It's very
Bye.
late in South Africa. So thank you very much for staying up with us.
Yes. Yes. We still expect changes politically in the country, but I think it will be for the better.
Okay. All right, very nice. So thank you so much. We're going to move on now to our second speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mrs. Basde Ramcharita. She's from Trinidad and she's 91 years old. She was born in the village of Hindustan in Trinidad, which is famous for its mud volcano. And she moved to Debe over 70 years ago. Debe is where you can get nice sahina and pulori and all these lovely savory Indian delicacies. So let's call her Aji. Aji is the granddaughter of a Mahant, a Gosain priest of the Kabir Panth sect. We've asked Pandit Ravi Sinath to assist with this interview. He's close to her. He's a teacher and a social activist in Trinidad. Welcome, Robbie and Aji. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so Sitaram to one and all. Hope you all hearing.
Yes.
Nanti's a bit nervous. She's a little nervous, but there's a normal conversation she having, and she said that she wants to share whatever knowledge she has and experience with everyone. And I just chatted with her, and she's just happy to speak. So her name is Basde Ramcharita. Okay, and how old are you? 91. And anything you want to tell the people about 91? And tell me about something about when you were young, when you came to this area of Devi. You know, where you're from originally? Not Hindustan? Hindustan, right? And and how many sisters
Okay,
and brothers?
Rob, we're hearing you clearly, but not her at all. Can you adjust the mic for her, please?
Into the mic, right? Let me hold the mic. Yeah.
But the parents leave and they go on the cloud and they buy land for again.
And you went to school? You went to school?
I went to New Government School.
Up to what standard you went to school? Fourth standard.
Yeah.
And why do you think you weren't able to finish school? Why do you have to leave school?
I was sick.
Or you were sick? Okay. And I know you told me you had to take care of your parents. That's what you were doing?
Yeah, that is when my parents get old.
Okay, so you took care of them when they got old.
Yeah.
How was life in Hindustan? How was life in Hindustan? How was it? What did you all have a lot of stuff? Were you all wealthy people? Would you all have hard times?
We had a hard time, no, and then we had bad. We had my parents, my mom didn't had the share and the plant we let it get and sell. And we keep
What were some of the vegetables you planted in the garden? You remember?
the plant like bygone bowl. It was a bit and sell.
Is there any vegetable you don't see anymore that you used to plant in the garden? You had long time?
No, we just sell sweet tomatoes, bacon, and everything. Yeah.
I remember there like about 4 or 5 different types of bodi. There was the red bodi, the green bodi.
Yeah.
You still have that? You still plant all that?
Black eye.
You used to plant black eye. Okay, when people don't
Or
people don't plant black eye again, so that was something you used to plant. And how did you go to school? Did you go on a taxi? Did you walk
yeah,
bare feet?
to walk to come to school until after was the thing.
So now you live, Tanti lives on the main road in DB. She lives on the main road. And right over the road, there is a temple. And what she was saying, that temple was built possibly, it was in a different location and it was rebuilt about 50 years ago. And she was one of the first members in the temple. That's the temple I do my service sometimes. And she is one of the founding members of the temple. How was the temple 50 years ago? How was the era?
But was
Wooden temple? Okay, so it's now,
wooden.
and you were involved in the temple?
Yeah.
Robbie, what was some of the reasons that made the community decide to establish the temple?
Yeah, why did they build a temple in the area?
But that was the grandmother Oturam she funded.
So there's an older structure over 100 years that was rebuilt. So she wouldn't know about the original structure. It's over, when she came here, she saw the original structure. And that was over, it's one of the oldest temples in the area. And that would be before her time as well. I want to talk to her about her husband and their marriage, because you said that you were helping home and you married later compared to other young ladies at that time.
Rob, you're muted.
My brother, so my brother used to live by my husband's sister. So, the sister, I don't know how to say.
But it was an arranged marriage, right?
Yeah.
It was an arranged marriage. The love came after. She said the love came after. She blushing. She blushing, right? Now, Tanti, her family lineage is of the Gosain Mahant family, and they were known as sadhus or vegetarian, very spiritual people. And her husband, unfortunately, he used to eat meat. So she wasn't aware he was a meat eater. And what was the arrangement you had with him with that?
I told him I was a vegetarian. When he get to know, he said that I not eat that, so I tell him I will go back home. So he said no, he will cook and he will understand.
So you told him you're not going to eat any meat, and if you had to eat meat, you're going back home.
Yeah.
Oh, you give him ultimatum.
And he said I will cook for himself.
So he cooked for himself, and you said that he never cooked in your pot. He had a separate well for eating meat.
Yeah. So he cooked meat, but otherwise I used to make everything for him. All other dishes.
All vegetarian dishes you would make for him. And what about, let me see, what you were around when there was, you remember anything about the war?
Yeah, but that time I was small.
Oh, you were small.
I don't know probably that I have a right son. I think. I don't know, I can't remember. I can't remember.
Can't remember.
But I know thing was, yes. I don't know which one.
Okay, face me the side.
Okay, Rob, just find out how many children she had, and can she explain to us what were some of the rituals she had to go through as a new mother?
When you had the baby, you had 3 children, right?
Yeah.
And when you now had the baby, what did you have to do when you had the baby? What are some of the things you had to do? Did they born in good time? That the father could have seen the child?
Yeah, yeah.
So do you remember what you had to do when the child was born?
Well, we had to
With the star and all this?
feed them. And we had 6 days and then
The Chakti and the Barahi. Remember anything much about that?
we had that.
And you have any health problem? Anything, any health problem?
No,
No health problem. What's the secret? What's the secret of your healthy life? I know you said you're vegetarian. Anything else that you do? Is it because of your prayers? You pray every day? What are some of the things you do every day? I hear somebody, what prayers you do every day? Chant your mantras?
I just did a be an open every day and one chili that is one thing.
And when you read the Hanuman Chalisa, you feel stronger and healthier. How you eat? You eat plenty food? Is it plenty?
Nothing eat.
But again,
No, I eat nothing eat.
so how many meals you eat a day? Breakfast, small breakfast,
Yeah,
lunch.
and lunch. Lunch have a eat in
Heavy lunch, okay?
then yes.
So a light dinner. So you see that, folks? So we have, she said she has a breakfast. And most people don't want to eat breakfast. They say breakfast is wasting time, but she has a breakfast. And then she has a heavy lunch. And for dinner, very minimal dinner. She don't want to go to bed that full stomach. But she has something. So this is
All
something you
right.
can tell our young people here. So
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very, very much, Robbie. And thank you so much, Arji. We really appreciate all that you've shared with us. And we wish you even longer life. Thank you so much.
all right.
Okay, take care.
Oh, she has a cousin. She has a cousin who is 100 and how much? 105?
I don't know how much.
He's
but
over 100.
he's
Yes.
older than me.
And I taught in school his great grandson. So I will try and get a contact for him
Excellent.
to the ICC. So she now told me that. That's a
If
yeah.
ever when you're doing, I could go with
She want to go with me. She want to go with me.
Okay, very nice.
I,
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay.
Okay, so there we had Aji Basde, and we had Pandit Robbie interviewing with her. Vinay, we will send you Robbie's contact information. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was we had South Africa and we had Trinidad. And we want to move on now to our third conversation, and this is also with Trinidad. So Mr. Nizam Mohammed will be 83 years old next Sunday. He has been an attorney for the past 5 decades. He served as an elected member of parliament for 15 years and Speaker of the House of Representatives of Trinidad and Tobago for 5 years. Mr. Mohammed, welcome. Are you able to unmute?
Is he here?
I'm seeing he popped out.
Yes, he's in and out, maybe with internet problems. So
No, he's here. I'm seeing Nizam Mohammed here. Mr. Mohammed, would you mind unmuting, please, and turning on your video?
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear
yes.
you, but we're not seeing you.
Oh, I switched from the phone to the computer, and I think we've got the computer going. I hope
Okay, good.
you will be able to both hear me and see me in
Okay,
due course. Are you seeing me now?
I'm seeing the top half of your head. Would you mind just pulling the monitor? Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
I have some operators helping me out
Thank you very much, operators. You all are doing a good job.
while I am wringing my hands with excitement, of course.
Very nice. So before we get started chatting with you, ladies and gentlemen, on Sunday, Mr. Mohammed will be 83 years old. So we want to wish him happy birthday in advance. And I want to say, may Almighty Allah bless you with health and happiness. We want to celebrate your birthday with you a little bit early. And so we're going to bring one of your favorite songs. And this one is from the 1946 movie, Anmol Tari.
Oh my
Robin?
God.
Let's have that, please, Robin.
What?
जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है ज़माना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है ज़माना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना मोहब्बत करे खुश रहे मुस्कुराए मुस्कुराए मोहब्बत करे खुश रहे मुस्कुराए ना सोचे हमें क्या कहेगा जमाना जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है जमाना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना अभी तक मुझे याद है वो कहानी अभी तक मुझे याद है वो कहानी ना भूलेगा बचपन का रंगीन ज़माना जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है ज़माना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना यहाँ आँखों में बातें हुई हैं यहाँ आँखों में बातें हुई हैं किसी ने ना देखा किसी ने न जाना जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है ज़माना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना तुम आए के बचपन मेरा लौटाया तुम आए के बचपन मेरा लौटाया मिला है मुझे जिंदगी का बहाना जवां है मोहब्बत हंसी है ज़माना लुटाया है दिल ने खुशी का खजाना
So there we have it. Do you remember the name of that singer?
Huh. Really, I have lost track if you ask me. I'm so sorry. I can't remember this.
So
Can
I
you
put
help
you
me?
on the spot. That's Noor
Yeah.
Jahan.
Noor Jahan. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to give.
I knew of those songs when I was a child.
Mhm.
One of my brothers had a pocket notebook and he would write the words in English transliteration. And as I grew up, I used to follow those words because we couldn't read Hindi, etc. And I used to be singing those songs as a child growing up. You know, so it brings back memories. If I raise my voice, it is not that I want to quarrel or shout on your program. It is because I did put Shalima on notice that this is going to be something difficult for me. Looking back at my past and what our people had to go through. You know, I did tell her that I will try my best, but it is going to be a bit difficult. But nevertheless, we'll go. We'll get through.
Yeah,
As we
we
say,
understand.
inshallah, inshallah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
It is a
perhaps you.
it's a very highly emotional kind of thing
Mhm.
to think about where you have come from. You know, I have spent a greater part of my life, I would say, in public affairs in Trinidad and Tobago, and sometimes beyond Trinidad and Tobago. And during the peak of my career in public life in Trinidad, the average person in Trinidad would tell you that when I mounted a public platform, political platform, that I spoke with so much passion, and it was as if I had some kind of fire in my belly. But today, you are calling out the real person in the sense that I am rooted in a past that has become part of me because I never pretended that I did not belong, nor did I condition myself to deny my inheritance and my past. I think you cannot hide from that. And that is why I feel how I feel when you ask me about matters which I consider to be very personal on the one hand, but necessary to share with other people. And that is why I feel that, you know, what you all are doing is such a laudable effort. And I really congratulate you all. And I want to wish you all the best. And I want to thank you all for having me on your program today. I did share the notification from my phone with a number of friends. I do not know whether they have linked up with us or not. So you can go ahead and ask me your questions now that I am kind of composed. We could talk about some of the things about our past.
So I'd like you to continue speaking, actually.
Okay, you would like for me to continue speaking. You know,
Yes.
when we look back at indentureship, there were two women in my life. One whom I did not know at all. And I see you have on screen, her name was put down there as Mulia, and she had another name, Mulaimia. And what you put up on the screen there shows that that is her shipping paper in 1875. However, this was her second visit to Trinidad. And you will see she was the mother of 321. If you look at the shipping paper of 321, you will see Kullan. He was my grandfather, my father's father, and his real name in Trinidad was Kalan Mia. Kalan Mia, and his father's name was Johan, as you see on that paper. But this is an 1875 document. This lady Mulia, she came with her husband Johan on a previous occasion, and it appears as if after their period of indentureship, they returned to India. And the little story that we were told as we were growing up is in India, they went back to be faced with a cholera epidemic. And in that epidemic, Mulia lost her husband Johan and her eldest son. Her second son, Kalan Mia, who was my grandfather, he was infected, and it was only a miracle that saved his life. Whatever happened was not children's business, as we all understand and appreciate. They never want to tell us about their story simply because they felt so disabled, dispossessed, abandoned and disowned, in the sense that they didn't think that their language or languages were to be passed on to us, because they felt these languages would have been no use to us given their circumstances. They felt that we as children growing up, they were so ashamed of their past, perhaps, that they never wanted us to know about big people business. So they never told us their stories. However, what we are told in this particular instance is this lady Mulia, she took her 3 surviving sons, including Kalan, and she returned to Trinidad with another husband, and he became the stepfather of my grandfather. And the first time they were assigned to the Taruba estate, and the second time it was the St. Magdalene, which is now known as St. Madeleine, and where you had the Usine St. Madeleine factory. They were at that estate. My father was born in a barrack in adjoining Petit Moon estate. And from there, after indentureship, they moved to tableland, where they were able to acquire lands. And it must have been quite a few acres for the 3 sons. Kalan Mia, one, Alan had died, and 2 others, Jokhu and Pekhu. Those 3 of them, they had lands in Tableland, Robert Village in Tableland, to be exact. And it's there where I was born. And I never knew this lady. I was born in 1941, and her second trip to Trinidad was in 1875. So I often imagine the travails and the challenges and the hardship that this lady faced during her lifetime, and what it meant for her to be crossing the Kalapani on 3 occasions. 3 occasions. I'm not sure whether my grandfather rather, whether he was born in India or in Trinidad. We haven't been able to get a birth certificate. However, he's shown as 8 years old on that document that you have, when he arrived in 1875. Right? He was 8 years old. And he himself grew up from Petit Moon in Tableland, where he was an adult and looked after the family holding in Tableland. So
let's talk a little bit about the 8-year-old Nizam Muhammad. How do you think your life at 8 years old was different from his at 8 years old?
I think my life was a little different, in the sense that at 8 years old, I was attending Ellswick Presbyterian School in Tableland, and that was primary school education. By that time, I did not know him. He died in 1938. But I was growing up in an environment that was away from the sugarcane. It was mainly cocoa, coffee, and other such crops. So that I was growing up not in the barracks. I was growing up in a family house that in which all the members of the extended family lived, and it was a life that you found yourself fishing around to discover yourself and to discover what life is all about in that kind of environment.
Can you describe for us what this house was like and how many members are in this extended family?
It was not. It was a flat house on the ground, posts that would merely be 2 or 3 feet off the ground, if so much. And you walked from the yard straight into the what we call the front gallery. That house had about five bedrooms. So it was a kind of barrack type estate house that was built on the lands that they had inherited in tableland. And it was covered with galvanized. When I was growing up, it was galvanized that was severely rusted and a lot of leaks and so on. Weather-beaten wood, wooden outdoor and indoor as well. The partitions, and it was a wooden house then, covered with galvanized. But on the top of the house had a cocoa house, which when we brought in our rice, we will store our rice up there. And when they brought in their cocoa and their coffee, they would also push out the roof on both sides of the house, so that you would get the sunshine in to dry cocoa and dance cocoa, etc., etc. And
So, is it correct to say that your family cultivated rice, but your relatives, aunts, probably uncles, cultivated the cocoa?
Not really. The girls were confined to housework, etc. But the women of my mother's age, they worked in the cocoa as well. My mother had to leave the field, she told me, and she had to actually trot home to breastfeed one of her children, and that was breastfeeding at the time. And when she did get home, according to use her expression, her blood was too hot for her to breastfeed the child. So she had to sit and fan herself and cool herself down, because she had to get back there as if she was being looked after by some overseer in our private holding, because the women were in servitude, more or less, if not more than less, and she had to do that as a housewife, and she had to bear children as a housewife, and she also had to run the home as the housewife. She had 10 children. I am number 9 out of 10. So you can imagine. And more than that, she when she was a child growing up, she was born, and she was so little or small, she did not know her mother, who passed away. She grew up with an aunt. She did not qualify as other children of her age to attend school. So she never knew. She never had the experience of sitting in a classroom. I went to school, and they say that they taught me in school. manners maketh man. And they also taught me at the early age, at the earliest of my schooling, right? When you read, the whole world will open up to you. So I knew how to read, but none of us, 10 of us, thought it necessary to teach my mom to read. But then again, I was number 9, and I was the only one who got a sparse kind of secondary education. I became a school teacher. You know, what I remember is that when I applied for a teaching job to the Presbyterian Education Board, the secretary there, I put as my closing sentence, I am willing to become a Presbyterian if I am offered a teaching job. And a Hindu man, teacher from my village, he chastised me for putting in that in my application, and I told him about it. And he took me and he carried me. I did not know there were Muslim schools because we lived in a faraway village. And he helped me to get a job as a Muslim in a Muslim school. I had to learn Islam. I knew very little about Islam. And I had to learn Islam to teach the children who were under my charge. But why I point this out to you is this. When my father was growing up, he became a monitor in the Presbyterian school. And they told him that the time had come for him to join the staff as a pupil teacher. But the condition was he had to become a Presbyterian. And when he came home and he told my grandfather that, my grandfather looked at him and said to him, "Today was your last day in that school." Looking back at that, I feel that at that young age, my father as a teenager, right? What I felt then and I feel now is that his entire life's dream was shattered once and for all. He remained a Muslim. All his children, 10 of them, they remained Muslims. I'm proud of my religion, but the contrast with him and me, his father told him that he will hold on to his religion rather than become a school teacher. I, on the other hand, I'm answering your question, how was my time different to my grandfather's time? In my time, I said, I am prepared to let go of my religion to become a teacher because that was the only thing that I knew that would offer me a decent living at that stage of my life. So that is the kind of situation the system placed us in, and that is the kind of situation in which we had to struggle to discover who we are as a people, as a community. And today you are presenting a program to encourage the strengthening of what we have inherited. I am sorry that I did not I was not given an opportunity to learn the languages of my ancestors and to learn music as Indians love music, the way they love music, and that sort of thing, simply because all those things had to be abandoned to a great extent by my grandfather and the people who lived during his time, his generation, by his generation.
Right. Mr. Muhammad, walk us forward a little bit. You said that you remained a Muslim, and I'm very curious about your movement from that teacher to Speaker of the House.
I was teaching in the Astor primary schools, and I went to Teachers College. I graduated from Teachers College, Presbyterian, Naparima Teachers College. And then I worked at the Asja Boys College at the secondary school level. And it was at that stage I realized that although I loved teaching with the kind of passion that I cannot describe, it was a dead-end job for me as a career, in the sense that I had nowhere further to go in terms of my personal development. And I decided that I wanted to get into a profession in which I could stand up for people and I could help people. And I belong to that era where for the Indian people, it had to be either law or medicine. And I was never a science student. I went to a private secondary school for a short period of time, not for the entire period. And I did my exams, etc., privately and got through to qualify for a job in the public service as a teacher. So that I wanted to be independent. And that is why I chose law, and I decided to burn bridges, kind of sacrifice that only mad people might want to do. And that is, my wife was about to enter Teachers College, married with 3 children. At that time, 1 child with her, my daughter. And we left my daughter. She was about to enter Teachers College. She resigned her job because they wouldn't. I went to the ministry and asked them, can you give me study leave so that we can go study and come back? They refused to give me study leave. When I got to London, I met scores of people there who were on government scholarships doing law. But they told me when I wanted, not a scholarship, I just wanted leave of absence so that my service will continue and that of my wife will continue. They said, no, you're going to study law and we don't have any use for law in the lawyers in the public service. But that is what Trinidad and Tobago is even today. I went on my own and my wife accompanied me. She helped me all right through and she assisted me. I went to school full time. I did not plan to do that full time, but because of her help, that happened. And, thank God I was able to graduate and come back home. And when I came back home, the man who encouraged me to go and study law, Mr. Pandey's advice to me was this, Basdeo Pandey, if you want to become a lawyer and you do not go and study law, you will be unhappy for the rest of your life. And I thought about my father. He wanted to be a teacher and he could not become a teacher, and he was unhappy for the rest of his life. You understand? And the same thing was going to happen to me. And you see that kind of comparison and that kind of contrast. So I went to the UK and I qualified as a lawyer. And when I came back, I did not have money to even buy a chair, much more for a typewriter, which was essential. And Mr. Pandey says, you come and share my office with me until you can stand on your 2 feet. The next thing is Mr. Pandey got, within 18 months, Mr. Pandey got fully consumed with the Sugar Workers Union. And the demands were so great, he had to vacate private practice in the law. And I continued in the practice and I started attending meetings with him and so on. And I was one of his major spokespersons during the time that he was mixing the politics with the trade union movement, etc., etc. So I was perhaps the 5th or the 6th person who joined that party at that time, that political party, who became a member of that party that was called the United Labour Front, basically a labor party fought the elections in 1976 in the constituency of Princestown, which included Robert Village in Tableland, where I was born. And I entered the parliament. And then I moved after 5 years, and I represented the constituency of Tabaquite for 10 years as the people's elected representative. And it was in my last 5-year term, we were successful in pulling the opposition forces together against the then governing PNM. And we were able to win the government. And I became the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And that is how I served as Speaker of the House of Representatives.
So let me ask you this final question. If Kulan Mia were to have a conversation with you now, what do you think he would say to you?
Very difficult to answer.
Do
All
you
I
think?
I
do
don't
you
know
think,
what he would have said to me. What do I think? What?
Do you think he would have been proud of you?
Especially of the fact that I became a school teacher, which was the dream of my father, and I did not abandon his religion.
Excellent. Excellent. So Vinay wanted to find out whether or not you knew any qasidas and whether you could read Quran and so on.
I could read Quran a little bit. I have learned for my personal reasons. And growing up, all I knew about Islam is qasidas. I had one of my brothers who got married, and his wife, my bhabi, came to our house, and I think she had brought a book written by a gentleman called Kadir Baksh, in which he did a transliteration of the Urdu and Arabic qasidas. And I learned those qasidas. So from primary school, I have been singing qasidas. Ya Nabi, salam alayka. Ya Rasul, salam alayka. Ya Habib, salam alayka. Salawatullah alayka. He would have been very happy to hear me sing that, my grandfather.
Excellent. We are very, very happy to have you with us today and to have heard you share your life story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm sorry for, being this way, but as I told Shalima, I knew this was going to be a little difficult for me, but I have enjoyed it nonetheless. Nonetheless, I have enjoyed it. So thank you.
No need. You're welcome. No need to apologize. I want to direct you to the chat. Your conversation with us has been extraordinary and well received. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, and God bless. Thanks to Dr. Kumar Mahavir and Shalima. All the best. And to all those who are tuned in, and those wonderful 2 individuals who have given us their stories as well. Thanks again. I will continue to be listening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad because we have 2 more people waiting to speak. And I'll call upon our next speaker. And this is none other than our French representative from Martinique today. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Marius Gomez. He is 87 years old. He's a former airline switch operator who studied in France and who came to Trinidad and Tobago to study as well. He will be interviewed by his son, Raphael, who is an air traffic controller, like his father. Both of them are trying to learn and reclaim more of their Indian cultural heritage. So Raphael, thankfully, will be translating his father's speech from French to English. Welcome, Mr. Marius Gomez and Raphael.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you
We
for
can
having
hear you
us.
clearly. You're welcome.
my-
Raphael, I'm going to leave you to just go ahead and you ask the questions, have Dad reply, and then you can give it to us in English, please.
Okay. Okay. First of all, my father can understand a little bit, so to let it be more fluid, I will try to translate. My English is not that good, but I think it will be okay. I asked him already some questions according to what you said earlier, and so I write down some answers to go faster, but he can also speak. I just want to say that Mr. Nizam interview Mohammed was very interesting, and we find things familiar to us too. So thank you very much, sir. Okay, so
Yes, I was.
À quel âge tu es né?
Hein?
À quel âge tu es né?
Yeah, I born in the 29th of February 1936 in Martinique, in Monos. The closest is the north part of the island by Montpellier. And I was I was the first generation living in Martinique since the independence day.
No, if you don't mind. It belongs to the third generation. The third generation.
Yeah, third generation, yes.
Since indentureship days.
Yeah. And my father had a small road transport company. His mother had a small clothing store, but he was living in Mount Rouge, not far of St. Peter, where the Indian arrival for the first time, St. Peter was the capital. And after he came direct, my grandfather came direct from Calcutta. He started cooking in the agricultural exploitation.
Je vais reprendre un tout petit peu. Vas-y, continue encore.
Hein?
Okay. Okay. I don't know how you receive his message. My father was the eldest of 4 children family. His father had a small road transport company with trucks. And his mother, my grandmother, had a small store. And his grandfather,
my grandfather named Sigur Ganesh arrived in Martinique directly from Calcutta. He started working in an agricultural plantation, exploitation of sugarcane.
Je continue. So Sigur Ganesh, which is the first Indian of our family who arrived in Martinique in 1860, around 1860. So Sigur married twice. His first spouse, Nimram Kalia, left Martinique to Trinidad after their divorce. And unfortunately, we can talk about it later. We have no information about her and her descendants, except that she married a Trinidadian. We asked him if he remember his grandparents telling him about the indenture and the bound coolies days. He did not know. He never had to know his grandmother because she died before he's born. But he just had the time to see his grandfather, but only for 4 years because his grandfather died in 1940. So,
and I am 4 years old.
And he said that he had the chance to, but he had 9, his parents and his uncle and aunties. they were 9. So he was able to talk with them. But in Martinique, at this period, it was not a good thing to come from India because they arrived just after slavery. And at this period, the French government did not like people to come with their origin. So it was the same for African people, Chinese people, or Indian people. They wanted you to erase everything coming from your origin. So my father said, I write down what he said. He said that his parents never talk a lot about their origins. For example, having their clothes, Indian clothes, especially for women, they don't used to have this in the street because they look you in a bad way. So they keep that sometimes inside the house. My grandmother never wore these Indian clothes. And not a lot of people was talking their original language. And for them, it was something they asked them to erase. And he said that it's from his generation that they start to say that their origin was very important and they start to look after their culture. So it was difficult for them. Continue, si tu veux dire quelque chose. So I read you what we write together. So the objective of the French colonization was to expand French influence by educating populations of overseas territory or European model. So Marius, for example, my father learned at school about his ancestors, the Gauls in France, which don't mean anything for him at this period. And when he started to grow up, he started to look to ask him some questions about his origin. But from Martinique, it was complicated to have information about India. So it was later when he was able to make a trip to India. So he started to discover everything when he started to discuss with people coming from La Réunion, which is an island next to Madagascar, not very far from Mauritius, which is also French and where you have a lot of people of Indian origin. So he was able to talk to them. So he started to learn, think about his culture.
Raphael, before you go on, let me just ask you there.
Sure.
So he went to India. He would have come to Trinidad at some point in time where he studied and so on, and he would have interacted with Indians here in Trinidad. When he returned to Martinique, did he become involved in any kind of activism at all in perhaps reigniting interest in Indian culture?
Est-ce que quand tu retournes de Trinidad, tu as pu discuter un peu de la vie des Indiens?
Yes.
Attends, en fait, il y a eu la guerre après. Donc,
Après, je suis parti en Algérie, on m'a rappelé pour...
ouais, c'est ça, en fait. In fact, yes, he came to, after his study,
in Trinidad. When I came back, they called me for 30 years. I have to go back in Algeria for fighting. Algeria was asking its independence. And they sent me back in Algeria. And I remained about 12 months.
In fact, when he came back from Trinidad around 1960, it was the start of the war, the Algerian War, French against Algeria.
To get his independence.
And Algeria wanted to get his independence. And at this period, there was a lot of issues about colonization and being being independent. So there is not a lot of place for people to bring something new, especially to make to show your difference.
Right.
And at this period, yes, okay.
Raphael, find out from him, please. How many people of Indian heritage from Martinique went to fight in that Algerian war?
Il y a eu beaucoup de personnes
Everybody was when you get 20 years old, you have to go to the army, and from the army you stay about 2 months or 3 months in Martinique, and after they send you back in France, and after in Algeria, and many young people from Martinique.
In fact, let's say let's take First World War. Indian people was not considered as French, so they don't need to go to the First War in France. So almost no Indian to go to Europe for the First World War. For the Second World War, they start to take some Indian people as French people. And for Algeria, it was a period when as Indian people were like everybody, like they are all French. When you were 20 years old, you have to go to, so in our families, about 10 people in our families went.
Even to go to 30 years or 12 years or 24 months.
Yes, they went there for 24 months. Yes.
So could he quantify it? Was this like perhaps out of the entire Martinican population that went to that Algerian war? Was there perhaps 200 people of Indian descent, 300? What was it like?
Après toi, tu auras combien de personnes? 200, 300 Martiniquais?
Each month they have a boat taking about 40 or 60 young people.
Et combien d'Indiens dedans?
Hein?
Combien d'Indiens parmi?
Oh,
It was not a lot of people because difference between Martinique and Guadeloupe is in Guadeloupe you have more the double number of Indian people than Martinique. But we in France they never count according to your race, your origin. They never do that. So we can say that, let's say, about 200 or 300 people maybe move there, but we don't really know.
Okay, so let me ask Dad final question. What does he see as the future of Indian culture in Martinique?
Qu'est-ce que tu vois de l'avenir qu'est-ce que tu vois de l'avenir de l'Inde?
Oh, non, il n'y avait pas de culture, il n'y avait rien.
Non, mais aujourd'hui.
Now,
Dis-moi en français, dis-moi en français.
Ils sont tellement mélangés maintenant. Ah oui, il y a un tel mélange.
We talked about this yesterday, and he repeated quite the same thing. In the French West Indies, as in the crossbreeding dilute a lot of the population, so there's no communitarism in our island, so we can say so this is the first thing, but people from Indian origin are very proud of their origin. For one of the reasons is because this is in this crossbreeding, this is a thing that they can find important to them because it's one of the biggest diaspora around the world for them. And they are very proud to belong to a specific origin population. They don't know everything about it, but everybody is looking to understand. And I would like to say something my father used to tell us when he was not happy about our results at school. He said, okay, never tell me something is difficult, even if you are an engineer, a doctor, or whatever. Maybe you make more studies like me, but never forget that your grandfather was coming from a subcontinent about 15,000 kilometers from Martinique. And he arrived to let us be what we are, so we have to be proud and never say that something is difficult. And now, even if not, we don't bring a lot of things from this period of his grandfather. We are very proud to discover our this part of our culture. This is why what you are doing is very important for us, and people. Every day I see young people who are interested in their culture, but there is a lot of things to do.
Yes, a lot more work. I want to thank you all very much. You are the first, Mr. Marius Gomez. You are the very first person of French, Indo-French descent, the very first Martinican elder who has spoken on our program. So we appreciate you and we thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Il t'a dit qu'elle est vraiment. Tu es le premier Martiniquais à participer.
Yes, yes, I was the first one. I believe I was the first one.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
everything. Yes.
Thank you, Raphael.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Merci. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Mr. Marius Gomez and his son Raphael from Martinique. We're going to move very quickly now into our final interview for today, and this gentleman has been waiting for quite a while. This is Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka, who is 77 years old. He's the young boy on the panel today. He is a drug addiction counselor, acupuncturist, and practitioner of complementary medicine, as well as a singer, songwriter, and musician who discovered his ancestral family in India. So before we bring him on to speak, what we want to do is share a little bit of the talent that this man possesses. And Ravan, I'm going to ask you now to please present this video of Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka singing for us.
जिंदगी को बहुत प्यार हमने किया, मौत से भी मोहब्बत निभाएंगे हम, रोते रोते ज़माने में आए मगर हंसते हंसते ज़माने से जाएंगे हम। जाएंगे पर किधर है किसे ये खबर, कोई समझा नहीं, कोई जाना नहीं। सजीवन भी है जो जिए ही नहीं, जिनको जीने से पहले खिज़ा आ गई, फूल ऐसे भी है जो खिले ही नहीं, जिनको खिलने से पहले खिज़ा आ गई। है परेशान नज़र, थक गए कारगर, कोई समझा नहीं, जाना नहीं है ये कैसी डगर चलते हैं सब मगर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं जिंदगी का सफर है ये कैसा सफर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं.
Welcome back to the program Apne Sitare.
Absolutely beautiful. Mr. Dwarka, please unmute. And I want to throw out a challenge to you.
Yeah.
Mr. Nizam Mohammed and I want to learn how to sing too. So,
I noticed
how can you assist?
I noticed a lot of people are humming along with the song. A lot of people know this song. But first, let me start by thanking Dr. Mahabir and yourself and Shakira and Mr. Singh in the background there who, you know, week after week, I've been following some of the programs. My voice is a little bit out because of the Sahara dust.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make this program. Thank God you could play a recording of my singing. If I had to sing it now, I'd be in trouble. You know, but yeah, I would really like to start this conversation with a joke. You know, I hope it is not sensitive to some people, but you know, as we get to this age, we have a tendency to forget. So I have this friend named George, and his wife keep telling him, George, I tell you, don't leave the key in the car. One of these days, somebody go thief the car, you know. And you know, men, our ego, oh God, man, how much time you gonna tell me that? I'm not a little child. This day, George goes to the grocery, looks in his pocket, he doesn't have the key. Looks in the car park, he doesn't see the car. And he said, oh God, well, I'm in trouble. So he called the police, give them the number and description, and he called the wife, says, darling, you know, same thing you've been saying, look, it come and happen. You know, I forgot the key in the car and look, they thief the car. His wife said, well, George, you're really gone bad now, boys. I who dropped you in the grocery. You didn't go with the car. So he said, well, if that's the case, you better come for me. She said, I can't. Look, the police now lock me up for thief in this car. You're right. Listen, we have had a very emotional, I'm so really fortunate to be listening to Mr. Mohammed, our Nizam Mohammed, you know. I've admired you for years, for your integrity and your willingness to be impartial in spite of whatever was. I'm really happy to share this forum with you. However, my name, as you see, Ram Naresh Dwarika. I get the Dwarika from my father. But his father name was Ramawad. In those days, you didn't take your grandfather title. And Ramawad's father was Ramadeen. And Ramadeen's father was Ram Sahai. And Ram Sahai's father was Guljar. And Guljar's father was Isari. I traced it with the help of our uncle Shamsuddin. And I had the good fortune of going to India in 2007. I spent 3 months there researching and living among the people and doing all the research. And I was able to find my family. I want to thank Baba Satyanarayan Moria. I also want to thank Mr. Ajay Pandey. I want to thank Chandra Mohanji of the RSS. All of these people, Dr. Singh and Dr. Divakar, they all helped me with the research. And I was able to find my family in a small village called Ramnagar. And when I looked at the documents you were putting up, Mr. Mohammed, I have the same documents that were obtained from the archives here. And I was able to find the village and my family there. It was really a very emotional thing for me. And a strange thing happened. The media they heard, yeah, these are some of the pictures. The media, Sahara TV was there, Jagran newspaper was there are a few other newspapers. They heard that Ram Naresh from the West Indies was coming to look for his relatives in Ramnagar. And they thought it was Ram Naresh Sarwan. So everybody came down there. But then they thought it was a good human interest story. So they covered it, and that recording of that whole event is on, I have posted it on YouTube. So anyone here can, of course, go on YouTube. You just put my name and you'll see the whole visit, the recording of that. It came up on the evening news that evening on Sahara TV. And after that, I've had a deluge of requests from people in India to help them to find their family here in Trinidad. So going back to about the early 18th century, my family lived in a little village called Jaswa Bilari. That's the same village that Nargis came from. And for anyone who saw Mother India, the flood scene was filmed in that location. And because of that, the family decided, after being flooded so many times, they decided to move to Ramnagar, which is a little bit elevated. So they moved in later on in about the 1840s, 1850s. My great-grandfather, Ramadhin, they were four brothers. He was Ramadhin and Sankar Sahai and Delai and Dattu. Their father was Ram Sahai. And of course, in typical style, fighting over property, the younger two brothers, Delai and Dattu, had to leave, and they went to another hill. And they started a little village that today is known as Delai Purwa. And these two families were not speaking to each other since then. But because of my popularity, when I went, the newspaper and all of that, I got the attention of everybody, and I was able to go to Delai Purwa, meet my family there, and bring them to Ramnagar. And we sat down and it was Phagwa celebration, and we had a meal together, and we had singing and all of that. I can play instruments as well. I play harmonium and tabla and dholak and flute and all those things. And we had a grand time there. Now, my great-grandfather, he came in 1892 aboard a ship called Roni. And why I could confirm that he was the person, because my grandmother was on the same ship, Sughari. And the both of them went to Taruba Estate, Mr. Morgan. They too went to Taruba Estate. And after Taruba Estate, they were able to save up money between themselves. And they bought a piece of land that is on the corner of Tulsa Road and San Francisco Junction, where JP family now lives. And of course, they mortgaged the property to buy bus. Bakal was running a bus in Pinal, and they went to buy a bus thinking it was a good business. And of course, the bus bust down because they will give people ride for trust. So when you drop them off, people don't come back to pay. You understand? And they knew nothing about driving and mechanics. I still have the horn from the bus as a souvenir. I also have the janta that we used to have to grind the dal and rice and all of that. I have those things still. I have the digger. They call it the digger my great-grandfather used to use in the estate to dig paragraphs. I have that too. So I'm keeping a little bit of a museum here as well. I have the Ramayana book that almost got burned down. The whole place, building burned down, but the Ramayana book didn't burn for some strange reason. Well, that is with my sister in San Fernando. So my great-grandfather, after they lost their land in Tulsa Trace, and it is interesting, my grandmother family were well-to-do people from Tableland area. They were from Brothers Road. And they told my grandfather, look, put my grandmother's name on the land and they will pay off the mortgage. And my great-grandfather said, not in his lifetime. No woman is going to get the name on the deed. And they lost the land. Anyway, after that, they went to Tambulete. I don't know where that place is, but somewhere near Tableland side. Up till today, I still, that's one of my projects, to go find where is this 20 acres of land that we have in Tambulete somewhere. After Tambulete, they came to live in Gandhi Village. It wasn't Gandhi Village at the time. It was known as Kuliwood. And half of the village was Madrasi, South Indian people, and half was Hindu. There were two Muslim families, but boy, we lived like one. We would go to the kitab, they will come to our prayers, Actually, Mahmudin Mia would jare everybody, Hindu and Muslim, everybody, and they will feel well. You understand? That's the kind of relationship we have, and they still have that relationship in Gandhi village. In 1962, I was part of that village council that requested the Indian High Commissioner to come, and we changed the name of the village from Kuliwood to Gandhi village. That was in about 1963. I grew up there. I went to the Caribbean Missionary School, CM School, Hermitage CM School, for a little while until they converted Janki Pandit's temple into a school in Debe.
Mr. Dwarka, let me just ask you to pause for a second.
Yes.
Are you saying that on a cadastral sheet, we will see a place called Kuliwood?
No, actually, that was not even the right name. I get to know the right name when I went to work on a pitch truck with my father. And when they'll send you to deliver pitch, the right name of that road was Debe Rice Ground Road. But we knew it as Kuliwood. But all of us young people were so ashamed to write Kuliwood. We used to write Hermitage Woodland, care of San Fernando. We never mind write Kuliwood. But that is how the estate referred to us, as Kuliwood. The white people referred to us as that. You know, and when you see the white man coming in his horse, my grandfather would teach me, you must say, Salam Sahib. You know, we had to show our respect and all of that. There's a lot of details there. You had to get a pass to go in the estate during the season time. You couldn't go cut grass, or they'd lock you up. You understand? Those was most of the people in my village growing up were working in the estates. Boys would just go to school, and as soon as you leave school, you'll get a badge, and then you'll be in the estate. And we'll be walking down the line to go to school and see our friends from the higher classes cutting cane. And I remember this guy who was fat and chubby, and he would be crying. His hand burst up. He can't cut the cane. You know, but that was the future until my generation. It was just about my generation where we started to go to secondary school. And you had to pay. I paid $18 a term to go to Southern Polytechnic on Roy Joseph Street. Mr. Ramcharita was the principal. And I was fortunate that in 1965, I got my 6O level. They had just changed to Cambridge GCE. And I got my first job in the government service in Port of Spain. But from Gandhi village, Debe to go to Port of Spain was impossible. So I moved to live with my aunt in Chaguanas. And by then I had already started, you know, experimenting with alcohol and taking my little drink with my friends. And I found that when I get to Felicity here, this was another community just like Gandhi village, almost totally Indian. And the fastest way to make friends is to go and take a drink. And gradually over time, you know, from month end when we get paid to weekend, let me fast track here. At about 17, 18 years of that, I had worked at the courthouse in Chaguanas. I worked at the Ministry of Works. I worked in the Ministry of Finance. But my drinking increased to the point where after 18 years, I had already gone through one divorce. And boy, my life remains standstill. Now, you know, Felicity is one of those places I think has the most rum shops than any other community in Trinidad and Tobago. They actually named the rum after Felicity. To fast track that story, about December 1983, I had reached my limit. I had already contemplated suicide many times. Family broke up, 2 children, you know, paying maintenance and living alone and all that sort of thing. And I know today, but for the grace of God, I decided to get help. And my life turned around. And I'm sharing this for whatever it's worth, because I knew that that was because of divine intervention. In fact, later on, I would do a research, you know, why Indian drinking so much alcohol? And I've written a paper on that for the University of the Virgin Islands that we probably discuss in sometime in the future. And that's when I stopped drinking, I realized I had so much time. You know, my mother is an avid singer as well, and my father is a musician. And so with this spare time, I decided I'm going to start practicing all these other instruments. And soon enough, I realized I wanted to go back to school. I had always wanted to study medicine, but the school I went to never taught chemistry or physics or any one of those things. So I decided to go back to school. At age 26, I went back to school. I went back to Jamaica, and I had a similar experience, Mr. Mohammed, where everybody else getting scholarship, people junior to me, but they didn't want to sign off for me to get a scholarship. I had to go on no pay leave, study, qualify, and come back and work for them. You know, so I know that feeling. That's a long story, you know. Similar thing happened later on when I would get the job as director of the Piparo Empowerment Center. And I went and did the training for that position, had all the qualification. Government changed, and so my contract was not renewed. So I understand those things, and I'm sure you are fully aware of these things that happen in Trinidad, the discrimination that goes on, the racism that is engendered here. However, I know whatever happens has happened for the best. Because they did not renew my contract, I started a private practice. And today I'm so happy that, yes, I was introduced to the use of acupuncture in the treatment of drug addiction. Way back in 1992, I was working at Cora Hospital at the time. And eventually I started my private practice. And today I have a very good practice. It is not about money, it's really about reaching out to people. Common sense will tell you can't use drugs to treat drug addiction. For those of you who are interested, I now do, well, for the last 30 years, I've been doing programs on radio and television on alcoholism and substance abuse. I have my own YouTube channel. You can check out my name and you'll see all the programs are there. How to determine whether you have a problem with drugs. If you do, what you can do, where the places you could go and get help. I came back after a life like that. I came back, I was president of the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction. Currently, I am a director at the National Council of Indian Culture, and we have been sending out people to Martinique and Guadeloupe and Belize and Jamaica and so on from the NCIC. We have that relationship, and you have had some of those people not too long ago in the program, Shalima, from Guadeloupe and Martinique and so on. In Trinidad here too, I have had the opportunity to be of service in so many, well, I'm very much involved in helping people who have problems with drug and drug addiction. I run a meeting every night online, the same platform for people in recovery and so on. And
Mr. Dwarkar, let me ask you to just share with the audience.
Yes.
Who can get assistance using acupuncture? What kind of ailments do you have to have? And how, in your experience, who are the people who come to you most?
All right. Well, of course, I see a lot of people with lower back pains and up shoulder pain and frozen shoulders. But acupuncture, originally, I was trained to do auricular acupuncture, specifically to treat people with drug addiction problem, whether it be alcohol, cocaine, marijuana. Because when you've been using drugs for such a long time and you stop, you go into withdrawal. And the acupuncture helps you with all the withdrawal symptoms. In addition to that, with counseling, now acupuncture is not a cure. By itself, it will not do anything much. But with counseling and with support like AA and NA, we have had very, very good success. I also have went on to do generalized acupuncture. So I treat people with strokes and with facial paralysis. But my treatment is not just dealing with the biological person. I'm also trained professionally in counseling. So I look at human beings as bio, psycho, social, spiritual beings. Whatever happens in one area affects the others. And if you have a treatment plan that only targets the biological person, you're going to fail. You need to listen to your patients. You need to understand what has happened, how it is impacting on them, and how to develop a plan that caters to all of that. So yes, I have a lot of people. Most of my patients are people who would have gone to all the doctors, made all the rounds, and when they didn't get to it, say, all right, let me try this. You know, and I don't mind that at all. But again, I don't take the credit, so I won't have to take the blame. I pray, I do my yoga every morning. I am a Hindu, I do my job, I do my prayers, I prepare myself, and I hope that God uses me as an instrument of his will to reach out to all these people. Anybody who reached to my place, I know it is God's will. Nothing in God's will happens by accident. That is.
So you're being placed here in Trinidad is also not by accident.
Yes.
Excellent.
So there's so much more I could say. I don't know if I still have time.
Actually, I want to ask you to make your closing comments now because we are already at 5:03.
Well, I know I have a lot of people here my age, and I know a lot of people have difficulty dealing with aging, but I have found a way to live 10 lifetimes in one lifetime. And that is simply by getting myself more involved. How I work it out is, suppose a man lived 80 years and only did one thing every day. Another man lived 80 years and did two things. It's like the second man lived twice that fella's lifetime. So I don't have, as soon as the meeting finished, I'll be getting dressed to go to another meeting in the Hindu school here. That's how my life goes. It is not that I don't rest, but I have found the happiness I was looking for in drugs, in money, in status, and all of that. It is not in any of those things. Happiness is when we can keep our mind in the present moment. So let me leave you with this. It's a CM school little poem that the time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is there. The way to be happy is to make others happy, and we'll have a little heaven down here.
Wonderful. You reminded me, we also learned that in Presbyterian school. Thank you so much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a wonderful program, and I want to say thank you so very much to all of our presenters today. Your stories are remarkable, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let me turn you all over now to Shakira.
Thank you, Shalama, and thank you for taking the time, everyone, to attend and to participate. And as we've said earlier, this public meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, and you can feel free to contact the ICC to publish your books and your reports. And remember that we are kindly asking you to give us your suggestions to become a volunteer and also for donations, and you can contact Dr. Mahabir for details. We want to thank our advisory and planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir. Thanks to our IT manager behind the scenes, Ravin Ramsingh, who has been recording the program and will upload it to our website and to YouTube permanently for posterity. And also to Miriam Mohammed for producing our TikTok videos, so you can check us out on TikTok. Our topic next Sunday will be the significance of gold in India and the Indian diaspora. So please visit our YouTube channel to see all our past recordings. I am Shakira Mohammed saying goodbye. May God bless you all. Dhanyavad.